Welcome to Jank Play TCG. My name is Landon, and here we play Jank. Today I'm going to be showing off this new Spinda spread deck that has Mimikyu in it. It's a spread deck, right? And Manaphy does see play and can really hard counter this deck. But at the same time, I've been playing this, I've been testing it, and Manaphy just doesn't come up very often, which is very interesting to me. And I'm kind of wondering why, but I think it has to do with Lugia V-Star not really using Manaphy and Rapid Strike Urshifu not really being good against Lugia V-Star. I think that's why, but I could be wrong. So the deck starts off with Spinda from Silver Tempest, who has 90 HP, and for a single colorless energy has Dizzying Spin. This attack does 10 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. I've probably done a video about this. I've been playing around with the idea of doing a video about this. And since I'm pre-recording all this stuff to try to have kind of a week off of recording, hopefully, between Christmas and New Year's, which by the time you're seeing this, that would have happened. So I'm pre-recording pretty far in advance. I think confusion is the best status condition in the game, and just go look for that video. I've probably done it already to find out why. So Spinda, 10 damage to everyone, and confusion, pretty good. And it's backed up by Hisuian Braviary, who for 0 energy can put 3 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. That's just awesome, because that actually can get around Manaphy if Manaphy shows up later. Manaphy prevents damage. These are damage counters. In Pokemon, those are separate things, so Hisuian Braviary can kind of get around that. And then we have our closer in the deck, which is Mimikyu VMAX. For 2 colorless energy, ominous numbers, put 4 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. If you've played Acerola's Premonition from your hand during this turn, place 13 damage counters instead. That is a very powerful attack that makes all that spread damage we've been doing start adding up, and you can start getting multiple KOs at once. So, very good card in Mimikyu V Max. But I gotta mention, Mimikyu V is clutch in this combination because of Dummy Doll. When you play this card, this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may prevent all damage done to this Mimikyu V by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon until the end of your opponent's next turn. And the interaction with Dummy Doll and Path to the Peak is fascinating to me. Because Dummy Doll, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to your bench, you get a choice in that. You choose yes, and then you give Mimikyu the effect of preventing all damage done to this Mimikyu V from attacks. So you can play Dummy Doll, activate this ability, say yes, then play Path to the Peak. The effect is still on Mimikyu, even though Mimikyu has no abilities to do Path to the Peak. So it's a very interesting combination. Plus, there's one Psychic Energy, Jealous Eyes. Put 3 damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon for each prize card your opponent has taken. Which means you can get up to 150 damage counters, or 15 damage counters, 150 damage going on to your opponent's Pokemon if they've taken 5 prize cards and you only have a Mimikyu V. So that can come in at some point. And then for draw support, we do play Bibarel for the Industrious Incisors. Once during your turn, you may draw up until you have 5 cards in hand, just so you can have a little bit extra draw in the deck. And of course, 1 copy of Manaphy, because we want to protect ourselves from Rapid Strike Urshifu. That can do massive things to our deck, so we need to protect ourselves from that. I want to jump over to Energy first, though, before Trainers, because we play 4 copies of Capture Energy. Because Spinda works off of a colorless and Hisuian Braviary works off nothing, no energy, we play Capture Energy to get our basics out. We don't want to get Mimikyu out, but sometimes we have to. Capture Energy is just a great way to go a little bit faster in the deck. And then we play 4 copies of Horror Energy, and that's to power up Mimikyu for the most part, but you can use it for other Pokemon because they're all colorless. You know, it provides a psychic energy regardless of who it's attached to. But on Mimikyu, it gets the extra effect of when your opponent attacks it, they'll take 2 damage counters for each Horror Energy. So that's pretty nice. We usually only have 2 out there, so it's 4 damage counters in total. Might make a difference, might not. Depends on how well you get the spread off in the beginning. Let's jump over to trainers now. We've got 4 copies of Acerola's Premonition because of the draw of this card, but mostly because of the Mimikyu VMAX that we're using. We really, really need Acerola's Premonition here. Is there a special art? There is. Ah, man. You'll see that I did splurge on the art for Mimikyu VMAX and Mimikyu V. That art is just too good. So I splurged on the credits for that, and I already had 4 copies of Acerola's Premonition, so I didn't have to splurge for the full art, but I might. Just a match. And then we got 2 copies of Tool Scrapper, because we actually have enough space for Tool Scrapper, but also we want to get rid of things like Cape of Toughness and Air Balloons, so we can try to get Pokemon stuck and weaken Pokemon all at the same time. We got 4 copies of Quick Ball, because Level Ball would not get us all of our basics, mostly Mimikyu V, so we gotta play Quick Ball. 4 copies of Telescopic Sight, because it allows Spinda to deal 40 damage to Pokemon V on the bench. Just keep in mind, it will not work for damage counters being placed, so Hisuian Braviary and Mimikyu V Max cannot use Telescopic Sight to do more damage. It's only there for Spinda, but it's such a key numbers game that it really helps. 3 copies of Path to the Peak, because you need it out in the early game, and in the late game it kind of doesn't do anything. 2 copies of Ordinary Rod to help you recover stuff. 3 copies of Professor's Research to help you draw through your deck. 2 copies of Pal Pad to recover Acerola's Premonition. We're going to have to be using that in the beginning, so it's good to have Pal Pads later on to help recover it. You might recover Boss's Orders occasionally, but really you want Acerola's Premonition, so you can just use that Mimikyu attack as much as possible. What is that? 3 copies of Air Balloon to reduce retreat costs. We have 2 Bibarel, so 2 Air Balloon for those, plus 1 more to retreat anything you need to. 4 copies of Ultra Ball to help you find your Pokemon and your evolutions such as Bibarel, Braviary, and Mimikyu VMAX. And then 2 copies of Boss's Orders to try to get stuff in the active that we want in the active. Spinda does confuse, so sometimes confusing a Pokemon is more worthwhile than leaving them on the bench knowing that they're going to be retreating into that Pokemon next turn. And that is the deck. Let's go to test deck so we can see the deck in action here. And I don't know, I feel like the deck's pretty consistent, but it's just weird in how you have to pilot it, in my opinion. It's all about getting... You want Spinda in the active first off, so that's why we play 4 copies of it. So hopefully we can start off Spinda, but we do play a lot of other basics, so it's not weighted, like, we won't get it more than 50% of the time, but we do get it here. Awesome. The only sad part is that we actually don't have a draw supporter in hand. We are going first, though, so our first turn we can skip, and next turn, play down Ultra Ball. We'll discard the 2 Hisuian Braviaries. Ooh. Done. Okay. I might change up my plan. Oh, man. I might change up my plan a lot, actually. Let's Quick Ball an Ultra Ball. And we will grab another... No. Bidoof? We're going to grab Bidoof. Since they have Gormandize in the active, I'm not afraid of Spinda getting KO'd turn 1. I'm actually never that worried about Spinda getting KO'd turn 1. I don't know how many decks have a good turn 1 option that can deal 90 damage. So, we do have Rufflet, so we'll be able to evolve it next turn. We've got an Ultra Ball. We can discard a few things and get a Bibarel going. Boss's Orders, that's a big one. Okay, we need to get out of the active because we don't have any damage counters out there yet. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. We're going to Ultra Ball away these 2 Hisuian Braviaries. Done. Grab a Bibarel. Oof, our second Bibarel is prized. That Bidoof sitting on the bench is going to hurt. That's the one big issue. You really need to check your prizes. I'm terrible at remembering to do that when these, the video game aspect of these decks, or of these, this game, kind of encourages you not to. Where the physical game, you kind of have to all the time. It's interesting the way that works out, but yeah. And then I'm gonna, eek. I'm gonna play down this Horror Energy on Braviary, so next turn we can retreat it. But I know it's gonna be difficult to try to retreat it anyways. We might have to play down the Manaphy, increase our Bibarel draw a little bit more. Might even play the boss's orders, although I'm hoping for another supporter. Quick Shooting Inteleon comes down. That places damage counter, so it negates Manaphy. Oh, they Marnie us. Thank you. Acerola's Premonition. That's not bad against an Inteleon list. Okay. Quick Shooting onto Bibarel. Okay. So here I have two Acerola's Premonition. I do have a Quick Ball and a Pal Pad. So I'm going to Quick Ball away one Acerola. We're going to grab a Spinda. Play that down. We are going to Pal Pad the Acerola back in. And before I Bibarel, I'm going to Professor's Research. Alright, here we go. So, Capture Energy onto Spinda, which will let us get a Rufflet. I will retreat Bibarel, or Braviary into Spinda. I will Air Balloon Bibarel and Dizzying Spin. So everyone is now damaged. Now Hisuian Braviary can do quite a bit. But we want the active to stay confused. I'm thinking about bossing up this Inteleon. And leaving it confused, because then it opens up the opportunity for it to hit itself with confusion, which might be helpful. Drizzile comes down. They get Tool Jammer. That would be big if they played any Pokemon V and we had Telescopic Sight. But because they don't, that may not be as important. Okay, they scoop up the Inteleon, so there's actually less likely chance that they're going to have an attacker next turn. So we might just keep using Spinda against the Snorlax. We might not actually do boss's orders. Yeah, we're just going to keep using Spinda. Keep on spinning. Keep on spinning. So the Path to the Peak really doesn't do anything in this matchup, but we were able to get it pretty early on, throw it down the field. That's good information to have for future matches. They get the Inteleon out. Again, we might boss that up. We might boss up the Decidueye. Really depends on where they place their energy this turn. Just because Snorlax beyond the bench in the game, not in the active, is pretty good. I know they play Scoop Up Net, so they can get rid of the Snorlax any time, but will they? It is the AI after all. Okay, so I'm going to boss up the Inteleon so that we can confuse the Inteleon. Yeah, so Inteleon is confused. It will still be able to use the quick shooting ability, but to attack us, it will have to flip. And that is pretty big. If I was them, I would quick shooting the active, and then, because of Paracel here, big Paracel, we actually can't use Hisuian Braviary right now. That's why Spinda is so important. So is Tool Scrapper. We need to find our way into a Tool Scrapper somehow. Currently struggling to get rid of things in our deck, in our hand though. Tails, they hit themselves, which really helps us out. Just dealing that much more damage to themselves. I mean, I'll throw down Telescopic Sight, even though it's not going to help right now. And we will just continue with Dizzying Spin. Yes. So, Paracel. I want to read that again. Okay, so Paracel can actually negate the confusion, which is interesting, I believe, at least. Ooh, Rufflet. They put Rufflet in the active. That's a pretty good choice for them, actually. Because they have Paracel out, that's a pretty good choice. Even if I get the evolution. You know? Ooh, and they knock it out because they hit head. So, we'll just put Spinda back into the active. Capture Energy. We can throw that down onto Spinda. Let's see, they have 5 prizes. We've got 1, 2, 3 attackers. They just knocked down Rufflet. We can throw down another Rufflet. And when we find a Hisuian Braviary, we can evolve up into it. Playing Ordinary Rod will not let us draw, so we won't yet. Dizzying Spin. Get some more damage out onto the field. Now, some things have got to be getting pretty high up there, like Dartrix. So if they don't evolve this Dartrix, which they do, obviously, we could have possibly had a KO on our hands with Braviary next turn. Alright, so they Birdkeeper out of the active, putting Decidueye into the active, because we're getting a few too many hits in on Inteleon, and it looks like they're just going to use quick shooting to try to get some KOs here, and they're not actually going to get much from us. We're not disappointed with the active Pokemon here. I mean, I would love for it to be better, but yeah. It does turn on Hisuian Braviary, but we're probably not going to be getting out of the active here. So, Manaphy and Rufflet, yeah. Splitting Arrow does hit the bench, so Manaphy could come in important later. We will, though... I'm just going to draw. Like I said, we don't hate what's in the active right now. It's an attacking Pokemon that doesn't have energy, so they want to get energy on it. They want to be attacking with it, and we will just keep on spinning here. Now, I am hoping this game will... Nope. At least you saw how the deck's supposed to function, even though the game didn't last too long, because our opponent decked themselves out from drawing too much, which happens against the AI. It's frustrating. I wish we could have a better match against the AI. I wish the AI was a little bit more competent, but it is what it is. You'll just have to wait for the rest of the week for the matches to come out for this Spinda Spread Mimic deck, and, you know, we'll see how it goes. I've been testing it. I've been enjoying it. It doesn't always win, but that's because, you know, I play Jank, and I play weird stuff constantly. I almost feel like there's another deck with Mimikyu that could be good right now. I just don't know what that deck is, because the way it places damage counters, it doesn't place enough damage counters to be that big, but it is kind of a big deal. Like, it's right in that middle ground, so... Oh, well, this is the deck that I have now. Hope you guys pay attention the rest of the week, watching out for these games. Hope it performs well for you guys. Let me know your thoughts of the deck down below, if there's anything you would trade out for something else, another tech maybe, or just some more consistency. Let me know down below. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy what I do here, and, of course, until next time, keep playing Jank.